spent 4 days trying to get somebody to start paying attention to those two numbers, 183, 83. Those are the numbers, as we just heard, of times that our government waterboarded Khalid Sheikh Mohammed and Abu Zubaydah. And the process, and it worked for about a week. The torture apologists for about a week could no longer claim that it was minor and limited and not horrible. Since that time, I've been thinking a lot about the Argentine investigative journalist Rodolfo Walsh, who wrote from the 1950s to 1970s, for 3 reasons. One, during the period of some of the worst repression in Argentina in the 70s, he tried to form what he called the clandestine news agency. It was an effort that, similar to what we've seen in other countries, where he asked people to hand carry pieces of news from person to person so as to get around censorship at that time. He wrote, "You could be the information chain, an instrument with which to liberate yourselves and others from the terror. Break through atomization, regain the moral satisfaction of a free act." That kind of network and similar practices in Czechoslovakia that I studied as an academic is something that's always informed my blogging. It's a lot easier for us with the internet. We're not being shot to do it. But what bloggers are fundamentally doing, whether we provide new content or whether we're just linking to the work of a lot of people here, kind of reminding people what Jane Mayer said 2 years ago that's now being reinforced by the documents coming out, is to build a network. What we're doing is build a network of people who can elevate the news that is being hidden, that is being ignored, and at the same time really engage people who otherwise feel atomized, who otherwise feel like they don't have a voice, they don't have a way to engage in politics, they don't have a way to fight back about what's going on. A second reason I've been thinking a lot about Walsh is the very first dispatch in that clandestine news agency in the 70s was similarly an attempt just to get people to pay attention to numbers. 15,000 disappeared, 10,000 arrested, 4,000 dead. What he was doing, and I couldn't believe 10 years later that I would be in a position where I was screaming numbers to try and get people to pay attention to what our government had done. I'm not trying to say what the government has done is akin to what they did in Argentina, but I just never imagined I would be in that position, and there I was. Which brings me to the third reason why I've been thinking a lot about Rodolfo Walsh, which is that the day after he wrote those numbers, he was gunned down and disappeared. And it's gotten me, I mean, we are not in that situation, but there are journalists everywhere who are being gunned down and disappeared. But it's really gotten me thinking about those networks. A year after he was gunned down, the clandestine news agency in Argentina was defunct. You take out one cog in that network, and it's gonna crash and disappear. And again, what I think blogging is about is establishing that network and trying to build a network that is strong enough to sustain being, tried to silence or what have you. And so that's kind of how I approach this wonderful award, which is that it's an honor, it's a tremendous honor for me, and watching the video, it's overwhelming to think about what you have to live up to and try and match. But it's also as much about my network and a tribute to the strength and value of the network that I get from blogging. So I'd like to, so first and foremost, my readers who are absolutely brilliant are part of this. The network of progressive bloggers, our donors, Fire Dog Lake's backstage contributors, and those you read on Fire Dog Lake's front page. They're all really much a part of what we do as bloggers. 3 people, among others, deserve particular note. BMAS, who's my backup, not only allows me the occasional break, but he injects a spirit to the site. Susan McIntosh, who is kind of the fairy godmother, as we call her, both for the site and she has done for some of my work. And Jane Hampshire, who is a visionary leader, not just in the blog world, but in progressive movement more generally, and also because she kind of surprised me coming up from Pennsylvania. I'd like to thank my aunt who, as a union activist when I was growing up, taught me about the importance of political activism. But I'd like to thank them all and thank the Hillman Foundation for recognizing the work of all of this network.